speaker tonight is Asylum Seekers Centre. So Asylum Seekers Centre was established in 1993 as a place of hospitality and welcome, a safe place where those who have fled situations of great danger could come. Their services include accommodation, legal advice, financial assistance, education, food, material and recreational activities. So to explain the difference our funding could make, please welcome Asylum Seekers Centre, Kristine De Guzman.
Thank you for the introduction, Tina, and good evening, everyone. It is a pleasure to share with you tonight about our work at the Asylum Seekers Centre, Sydney. On March 23, our centre had to do something that it has never done before in the history of our organisation. COVID-19 forced us to close our doors to the public and to people dropping in without appointments. Before COVID, around 100 people a day would drop into our centre, either to have a meal, attend our health clinic, speak with their lawyer, or perhaps their caseworker. But most importantly, our centre is a place of welcome and safety for the 5,000 people we support, of which 1 in every 4 are children. It's a place where people seeking protection feel a sense of belonging. Closing our front doors because of COVID-19 has really challenged us to think of new ways to deliver our services, especially without the face-to-face connection we used to have and a significantly reduced number of volunteers. For us and our team, it is not a question of if we can continue to provide a sense of welcome and connection, but rather it is a question of how. Because in the midst of the uncertainty that comes with this pandemic, the one thing that we do know for certain is that we have a role to play to make sure that nobody is left behind. Let me share with you about Sarah's story. As the pandemic rolled across Sydney, Sarah arrived at our front door one day. Sarah is a 22-year-old woman who fled her home country of Rwanda and is waiting for a protection visa here in Australia. Sarah lost her job as a kitchen hand as cafes began to close. She was renting a room and fell 2 weeks behind in rent, which led to her being evicted. Sarah became homeless for some time and was sleeping on park benches, where she eventually got sick and developed a fever. With no money and no friends or family here in Sydney, Sarah found her way to the Asylum Seekers Centre and knocked on our closed door. Although the door wasn't physically open, our teams were still working, and I happened to open the door to Sarah that day. Within a few minutes of meeting her and without knowing her story, I could see that Sarah needed help. She looked absolutely exhausted, and the first thing she said to me was that she was hungry. We first followed all the safety measures that we have in place. Our nurse on site conducted health checks and arranged for a COVID-19 test. We gave Sarah a hot meal, and we organised a place for her to stay where she could safely isolate and wait for her test results. Sadly, this is just one story out of the many people who contact us in similar situations. Sarah lost her job because of COVID, which led to homelessness and destitution. She didn't have a safety net because people seeking asylum are not eligible for any federal government support programs. No JobKeeper, no job seeker. And her visa status meant she couldn't even access homelessness services. Sarah fell through the cracks. The demand for our services has tripled since COVID and only continues to increase. Your support of $50,000 will enable us to reopen our doors and continue to say welcome in a safe way and to respond to people who are falling through the cracks, like Sarah. Our reception team of volunteers are essential to this, and your contribution will ensure they have a coordinator to support them at the front lines. We will see more people face to face, not only in our centre in Newtown, but in a new pilot project we are starting in Auburn, closer to where people live. We will see people face to face because we know that when we actually meet with people, we are better able to see the early crisis signs of domestic violence, children at risk, and declining mental health. We need your help to take these next steps and to ensure that there is always someone there to open the door. There are 40,000 asylum seekers living in New South Wales and waiting for a safe home. These are individuals, families, and children here in our very own communities and not in some distant foreign place. They could be your neighbours or the people you work with. Despite being impacted by COVID in the same way as anyone else, people seeking asylum have been left out of all federal government support programs and are falling through the cracks. They have no safety net to fall back on, except for organisations like ours and individuals like you who want to say welcome to vulnerable people and not leave them out. Your support will open the door for 100 people each day. You will help them find a place to stay, have a meal, look for work, and make plans for the future. Let me tell you what's happening with Sarah now, the story I shared earlier. After she was cleared of COVID, Sarah moved into our temporary supported accommodation. Her health improved, she gained her confidence, and she returned to her love of cooking by making delicious meals for the other women she lived with. Sarah's food is that good that when she shared the news with the other women that she found more permanent accommodation, they didn't exactly welcome the news at first because they would miss her gourmet cooking. Having an open door is not just a building status, it's a philosophy. With no other safety net for asylum seekers, you can help us be the place of welcome. Together, we can make sure that nobody in our community is left behind. Thank you.
And thank you, Kristine. Well, there you go.
Another amazing one.